Alright folks, for anyone who's tuning in right now, what we're going to talk about is why people are quitting BDO. And before we get started with that, let's talk about the positives. Let's talk about what's good about BDO, why people should play it, right? One thing that's really notable for me, which is really important in MMORPGs, is they have a massive diversity in classes. I always say this, when an MMORPG comes out, they better have a decent number of options for us to play. Because it's really important for an MMORPG to have multiple classes, because the game itself is not going to sustain us in terms of content. Like, look at World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy 14, all of these games, like, after you play it for a certain amount of time, you've done the raids, you've done the dungeons, then what, right? But if you play a new class, if you play a different class, it gives you a complete different perspective at sometimes, like, for example, going from a healer to a tank, playing classes with differing playstyles, for example, going from a ninja to a wizard, you know what I mean? Let's go to the next reason, right? BDO is a game of freedom. Like, it doesn't push you down a single route. You don't have to do the main story quest line if you don't want to. You don't have to do any of the quests if you don't want to. You can just go out and grind. If you don't want to grind, you can go be a life skiller. If you don't want to do life skills, go freaking be a barterer. I mean, that's technically a life skill, but it's a different lifestyle in general. BDO gives you the freedom and you can still progress and get your gear and stuff. So that is a big plus point, because not everyone wants to play the game the same way. Not everyone's interested in the same content. That is a really big plus point. Very few games give you that. That is really important because it's an MMORPG. MMORPG is about freedom. It's about exploring. It's about making friends and talking to people, seeing people. Having that freedom is so essential. Not to say a game which doesn't have that kind of freedom is not good, but it really works in BDO's favor because it's an open world sandbox game. They really stuck with that. You know, they had many people asking, yo, let's do dungeons and stuff. But, you know, how long did they hold on to being an open world sandbox game, huh? There is like some instance technology. Like, for example, when a Dark Rift opens up, there's like a mini instance right there. But it's not like a pure instance style game. It's still in the open world. All right. What's next? The graphics are fucking amazing. Remastered mode. Like, how many games actually follow through with updating their graphics like BDO did? Remastered looks amazing. Like, how many games can actually say they match up to BDO's graphics, huh? Very few. So there is an issue with the whole graphic system, is that FPS equals DPS, which I absolutely hate, but it is what it is. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast here, right? But, you know, it is a plus point that the game has amazing graphics. On top of that, it has really good combat. I'm not going to say it's the best combat or it's amazing combat. It's good combat. It's really fluid. It's impactful. It's flashy. It looks nice. It feels good. I really like the combat. I think it's the best out of any action combat games. There are some other games which are pretty notable from a technical standpoint, which do match up or excel in certain aspects, but I think BDO's graphics are freaking phenomenal. But yeah, the FPS issue is really bad. I wish that wasn't a thing, but I don't think there's anything they can do about it. For all the flack that we gave Cacao and Pearl Abyss, overall the publishing was pretty good. In terms of tickets and how the tickets were handled, I'd say Cacao was better. Their policy was a lot more for the players sort of thing, that they would go out of their way to help you. But overall, both of them are pretty good with the customer service point of view, in my opinion. They're constantly looking to update quality of life stuff, which very few games do. Like, if you guys played other MMORPGs, how many other MMORPGs go out of their way to do freaking quality of life updates? Very few. Anyway, those are like all points that we can attribute to why, you know, people would like to play BDO, why BDO is a good game. But there are quite a few flaws, and obviously, like, whenever we're complaining about something, we're more likely to complain about something rather than talk good about something, right? That's just the nature of our human psychology. We're more likely to go and give a bad review than a good review, right? So let's talk about the flaws. Let's talk about exactly what reasons, like, really drive away players. It's not like the hard and fast reasons. I mean, these aren't the end all be all sort of thing. Everyone has their own reason. Everyone had their own experiences. Everyone's been through like a different route, but for the most part, these are all things that have irritated us or, you know, pushed us over the edge and made us really hate the game at times. So let's talk about the most common thing people will complain about. BDO's pay to win. Now, in terms of pay to win, for me, it depends on the definition. Who's defining pay to win? There's a few definitions. For example, if I am able to convert real life money into in-game currency, and because I could potentially put in thousands of dollars and get a lot of in-game currency immediately, that puts me ahead of other players and therefore it's pay to win. That's one definition. Another definition is if I don't pay X amount of money, I am going to be gated at this content and I cannot proceed. That's another definition, right? Like for example, there's a game called Fiesta Online by Gamigo, right? I used to play that like back in 2009, 2010, on and off just for fun. That game was the most pay to win game because the endgame dungeons, the endgame raids, everything endgame you wanted to do, you had to be using the cash shop buffs, which give you 70% damage and defense. Without those buffs, you got one tap. There's no way you're going to be doing any of that content. So the game is gating you, saying you have to buy these buffs in order to experience this content and in order to farm these dungeons. Therefore, that is extremely pay to win, right? There is no like alternative route to be like, I'm a non-pay to win player. So like in BDO, there is the route that you can go without spending a dime on the cash shop and still, you know, eventually get your gear. It takes you a lot longer. Like there are things that you can't get. For example, like the tent. There's no way to get the tent. There's no way to get the additional weight that other players can buy off the cash shop. So there are pay to win aspects which will drive away an ordinary player. Is what it is. Like you can play the game without spending money, but it's going to take you longer to progress. But at the same time, you can get to the point where you're, you know, matching the players who have spent money, right? So it can be categorized as pay to win, but it's not the end of the day. That alone is enough to drive players away. Like if I talk about BDO in another game, like with a guild of mine or something, they're like, yeah, I tried to play BDO, but that's too pay to win for me. And I completely understand. When did it become normalized to spend $1,000 on a game versus the old days when you just buy the base game for like 40 bucks, 50 bucks, and then you pay like a monthly subscription? Like when did it become a normal thing to spend like 5 to 10 times more for a game and get like less service than we used to? 10 years ago, like when I was playing World of Warcraft, if any issue, I could immediately get into chat. You know, when Shadowlands came out, I remember I used the live chat and they helped me out immediately too. Like I'm not spending $1,000 for World of Warcraft. I think I might have spent at most 200 with all the expansions and the subscriptions I paid for. Because after a while, you're able to buy the subscription with in-game currency, which wasn't hard to do. So, you know, I don't understand when it became normalized that, you know, $1,000 on a game or $1,500 is a normal thing. I don't think it's a normal thing. I think that's fucking expensive. Like, I don't want to spend like 20, 30 bucks for a costume. I don't think I should be paying a monthly subscription, but also have to buy like XYZ buffs. And then on top of that, I need my pets, I need my costume, I need that luminous buff and all that stuff. It's really expensive. And that is a reason why people eventually say, you know, I'm in too deep, or they say enough is enough, I quit. So, you know, like I said, it depends on the definition. It depends on how you define pay to win. And that's where a lot of the argument is. The differentiator is just the definition. So I'll leave that definition to you. I mean, you're the individual. It's your money. It's your time. That's the most precious thing, right? Your time that you're going to be spending. So you define what pay to win is. And if it works for you, it works for you. It's your definition. It's your choice. But it is something that a lot of people, if you ask them, have you ever played BDO? They'll say, no, I never tried it. It's too pay to win. Or I tried it and I didn't want to play it because it was pay to win. All right. What is another thing that people really, really hate about this game? For what the game is, and I know they can't really resolve this issue, but Desync really pisses people off, man. It's rough. I don't think they can do anything about it, but you know, they can take it into consideration. When they release Nova, when they release Hassashin, when they released Sage, I don't think they took into consideration what Desync is for us. I'm like, you're releasing these classes which are getting faster and faster, who are absolutely cracked in movement, and we have Desync. Like, come on. Desync is something that has not been resolved. I don't know. I can't say for certainty that it's something that cannot be resolved. At the very least, you can take certain steps to ensure it doesn't get out of hand, right? Like when you keep making these classes which are going at lightning speed, like literally lightning, the freaking Sage is lightning. As they keep releasing these faster and faster classes, Desync is going to happen more. It's something that is very noticeable in BDO because not many games go as fast-paced as BDO and MMORPG. This is an open world game, so it is a difficult thing to do. In an instance game, it's probably less so. And not many games have this much mobility to a class. Like an action combat game like Blade and Soul doesn't have this much movement, right? So Desync is something that's like pretty synonymous with BDO. And for players who played the game for hundreds of hours, gearing up, and then when they're trying to like PvP and have fun enjoying that, and they keep getting hit by a desync, It pisses him off, man. While there's not much we can do about it, at least you can take into consideration when you're designing a class, if you're giving them so much mobility, you gotta know it's gonna happen more often, right? How about the RNG? I've never tapped a pen. The only thing I've tapped, which is pricey, is my Pegasus at 38 stacks. This game's RNG is absolutely nuts. Enhancing has RNG to the core. You can spend real life money. Like, you can spend $500 and fail every single one of them. Now, what do you call that? I call that gambling. Let's say you're like me, you buy all your gear. If I want to buy a disto, I make 300 mil an hour, and that costs 18 billion. I have to grind for 60 hours to get the disto. That's a lot of time, bro. Like, yes, there is the alternative of buying. I wouldn't be playing this game if that alternative didn't exist. I came back to the game when my friends told me they fixed the central marketplace. It's not bidding, it's normal. You just buy what you want. If that wasn't there, I would not be playing this game. I would never have started. But the RNG involved in gearing up is atrocious. Buying a pen accessory, how expensive is that? How many hours do you have to grind to get 80 billion? Like 280 something hours. Do you know how insane that is? Multiply that number with minimum wage. Like, if you're working, you could get like a pretty big fat stack of money right there, right? But that's not a direct equivalency, of course. I mean, we do this in our spare time, but getting to end game, like getting 300 bill worth of gear, just do the math on that. 300 billion. That's 1,000 hours of 300 mil per hour. Like, people say, oh, dude, I just life skill. I just sit in Calpheon. I make like 3 bill a day. I know you ain't grinding, but at least you're spending a lot of time. Don't tell me you're just spending an hour a day. You didn't set the entire machine up in just an hour. You spend many hours grinding, right? I mean, gathering. It is what it is. You take a lot of time to convert that into that silver, or you gamble, both of which are shit. I don't like it one bit. I don't think it's normal to expect someone to grind for like a year. How long does it take to grind for 1,000 hours in this game? If you're dedicated and you grinded for 4 hours a day at 300 mil an hour, and mind you, it'll take you like 500, 600 something hours getting to that 300 mil an hour point anyway. It is a very, very long grind, and it's unnecessary. Look, I'm not saying that, hey, we need to go and validate all their gear. I'm just saying that's a reason that people are getting pissed off and quitting. Like, listen, it's nuts. Like, it is absolutely nuts the amount of time it takes to get to that 700 gear score mark, the end game mark. Like, this game shouldn't be that difficult. Like, this game, I think, 8 to 9 months should be what it takes to get to end game gear. Now, people at the 700 gear score are going to be like, no, I spent way more time. So obviously there will be pushback, and I'm not saying, hey, Pearl Abyss, go change this. I'm just saying how the situation is. Anyway, so let's recap. Reasons people quit. Pay to win, the desync, the RNG, the gear progression is stupidly slow. 6 to 9 months to get to end game gear should be like the max, like 9 months max. I don't think someone should be expected to grind their ass off for like an entire year to get that gear. But, nothing's going to change in that regard. I don't see them changing that, but it's what it is. I think the bigger issue would probably be the PvP balance. Let's talk about that. Some classes are absolutely nuts, while other classes are absolutely dog shit. Now, people say that because it's a new class, they overbuff it, and they're just trying to make money. I don't think that's the case. I think the older classes, they're tuned for that point in time. So, like, back in the old days, like, Mystic was like one of the best grinders in the game. Musa and Maywar were actually considered good, but the game was a different place back then. Like, we didn't have the kind of end game we have right now. We didn't have a place where you had to do your full damage rotation and then some in order to kill the mobs. Back then, we used to just one-tap the mobs. So, like, these older classes fell behind. As they said in one of their recent notes, that they got better at designing the classes. True, like, they are better at designing classes because those new classes are absolutely nuts. They're much more attuned to Hadum grinding than a class which came out 3 years ago, I'm going to hold back on, roasting them on that, because they are willing to do the class rework, and they're going to, do it week by week, but then they'll release all of them at once after they've been tested. So I'm okay with that. That approach is a good approach. I hope that it works out. So we'll keep a close eye on it. But anyway, like, look, this game isn't perfect, but I would like them to have like this mentality when going forward with new classes, or doing the class rework, right? Every class doesn't have to be balanced, but they should have kill potential. When one class is like mechanically superior to another class, like the number of iframes they have, the amount of mobility they have, If one class completely outshines the other class, like, it's kind of unfair. So it doesn't have to be like a direct equivalency. For example, as a mystic, if I fought a ninja and that ninja was playing perfectly and I was playing perfectly, I would run out of stamina before they ran out of CCs. Doesn't mean I can't kill a ninja. Doesn't mean the ninja can't kill me, but like, you know, there's that imbalance there. All right. So, what else is there? The PvP system itself is like pretty flawed. I mean, they did mention they're coming out with new things like the arenas and stuff, but how many years have we been playing this game? It's been a long time. World PvP is like toxic and griefing. I wish there was more to it. I mean, sieges aren't fun for me because the time commitment, like every week, if I'm going to like a node war or siege, that's like 6 to 9 hours, man. Some of those fights take a long time and then we have to prepare and whatnot. I know they're increasing the rewards, but I don't think that's it. Like, I think there needs to be more. It is what it is. Anyway, that's pretty much me just ranting about these. These are all like common reasons that people quit the game, but you know, it all adds up over time. Like a small thing can eventually break you down, eventually bore you out, and eventually you get tired and say, you know what, I'm done.